Professor Tony Diaz, el libro traficante. This is Nuestra Palabra, Latinos having their say. We are celebrating Latino Poetry, the Library of America Anthology, and we're talking to one of our dear friends who's in this collection, Jasmine Mendez. Of course, if you want to meet her in person, that's also what Nuestra Palabra does. We invite you to attend the in-person celebration Wednesday, October 9th, 6 p.m. in the Founders Room at the Hobby Center. It is free, courtesy of the law offices of Carolina Ortuzar Diaz, but you can also pick up a signed copy by visiting nuestrapalabra.org, going to our store online, and purchasing a copy. Of course, this is a really great addition to your family library, community library, or underground library. And I'm so excited because this is the section we call Live, and we're going to ask Jasmine to read the poem that's in here, and we'll talk about it on the other side. So, Jasmine, welcome. Congratulations on being on this book. And would you be kind enough to tell us the title of the poem that's in here and read it to us?
Yes, it is titled Machete, and the speaker in the poem is the voice of a machete. Call me what you want. Gift, weapon, thief. From the inside out, a CT scan slices you, a photograph you cannot forget, a memory you cannot hold. Dominican American, Haitian American, American American. I hyphenate you into the you that you are. Tissue rot, stem cells, bundle of knuckles, harvest of fingertips. Hold still, just breathe, count to 10. I swing. After the fog, a rusty tongue sticks and clicks. Your heavy metal breath, a metronome, marks my song, a ballad that begins and ends in blood. A cacophony of green hands and blue mouths migrate towards your borders, draw a line where they will pull apart your ligaments to collect scars from the altar of your almost fist. Steel cut, sharp needle, silk scalpel. Your stemmed finger, a rot root eviction notice where blood trembles and I belong, bent like stripped winds, soft, silent, serene. Sink under, then sleep between saltgrass and palmas. I swing. Call me by my name. Kukiri, hawkbill, cane.
Thank you. And that is Jasmine Mendez reading her poem, which appears in Latino Poetry, the Library of America Anthology, edited by Rigoberto Gonzales. I've had the privilege of hearing you present that piece several times. I think the last time was when I was the literary curator at the Latino bookstore at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center. Tell us a little about that time, the book that this poem appeared in. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, so that was the, if you will, San Antonio launch of my book, City Without Altar, which is a collection of poems. That's what I'll call it. It's a little bit of a hybrid work because it's divided into 3 sections, and the middle section is actually a play in verse where this particular poem appears in the voice of the machete. And this book takes a look at a variety of different subjects, but the central one, the play in verse, being the 1937 Haitian massacre, which occurred along the northwestern border of the Dominican Republic and Haiti under the dictatorship of Rafael Trujillo. And so I look at I do docu-poetic work in which I've used transcripts and interviews from the victims and survivors of the massacre and created these persona poems in the voices of the victims and survivors. The machete is a voice because that was the weapon of choice that Trujillo asked his military men to use to enact the massacre. And so I gave the machete a voice in this story, in this book, in this play. And this was one of those monologues, if you will, that he spoke out loud. And he has several others as well. But his voice was sort of the one that was the most difficult to construct because it's an inanimate object, and how do you give voice to an inanimate object and sort of give it some sort of a character arc, if you will, or make it believable that this is this object that is speaking. And actually, I will say that the idea of the machete was inspired by a Rigoberto poem titled Casa that he wrote, which is in the voice of a house. The persona of a house speaking, and how a house feels about the people and the things that live inside of it. And so he was an inspiration for that character, for that persona.
And that brings us to how old that poem is. When did that poem first come to light? And
yeah, so I wrote it the earliest iterations, because it's taken on many different forms and lives. This version that's in City Without Altar and that's in the anthology is actually like two of the machete poems put together, combined from the original sequence that I wrote. And I wrote that in grad school. I want to say 2018, 2019, more or less. And so it's not something that just appeared. It was in the works. It changed, it evolved, it grew, and into this sort of final form when City Without Altar came out in 2022. But the first sort of early drafts were in 2018, 2019.
Well, people got to hear you read it here.
Yeah.
I know it's a treat to hear you in person.
Thank
Folks can't hear you read this in person if they join us for the celebration of the launch of this anthology, Wednesday, October 9th, 6 p.m. at the Hobby Center's Founders Room. It's free, courtesy of the law offices of Carlina Ortuzar Diaz, and they can meet you, get a picture with you. Of course, I want folks to know, too, that this really is a powerful addition to your family library, public library, or underground library. So you too can get your own signed copy. Even if you're not here physically in Houston, you can go to nuestrapalabra.org, visit our store, and purchase a copy. All proceeds benefit Latino writers, Latino publishers, and Nuestra Palabra, so we can continue to give back to the community. Really wonderful to celebrate with you, Jasmine, and we wish you continued success.
Likewise, thank you.